The project adapting phase. This is where all the changes to the project plans and methods will happen. This is the way we are going to be identifying the best alternatives to improve the project and its chances for success. Here's a very nice quote. It says, "Intelligence is the ability to adapt to change." And that is the main purpose of this phase, is that we need to have the ability to change and modify our plans to reflect the new conditions that are going to be happening as we make progress. So the intelligence that we bring in to the project is that reflected in our ability to adapt to those changes. Let's look at some definitions of what the word adapt means, and will also help us get a better understanding of the concepts behind this phase. It is about to make something suitable for a new use or purpose, keyword modify, become adjusted to new conditions, to change so that it can be presented in another form. Here are some other words that also mean the same. To modify, change, adjust, redesign, reorganize, customize, improve, amend, refine. Whatever we call it, the idea is that we need to be able to adapt the conditions of the project based on information that we receive. The monitoring phase gave us a lot of data and it's telling us that something is going on, there are changes, and we need to be able to react to those and adapt our plans. So why we need to change? The reality is that at the moment we started our plan, we had a pretty good idea of what it was. Like in this chart, we wanted to go from point A to point B, and more or less we knew how long it's going to take us, how much money we're going to need, and what are going to be some of the issues. But the reality, as we start making progress, is that conditions begin to change. We start getting more information and we find there are more either issues, problems, changes, assumptions change. So we need to start thinking about how we adapt our plan to face these new challenges. And changes are something that's going to happen continuously. Here's another nice quote that says, "The only constant in life is change." So what are those changes? We're going to be concentrating more on the project management plans. So we're going to be looking at making changes to the core plans and making changes to the support plans. The monitoring phase feedback loop. This is the loop that happens, and it's important that we spend some time with it. It says that the adapting phase receives input from the monitoring phase and provides inputs to the planning phase. So during the monitoring phase, we look at variances. We try to see what changed from what we planned to do to what actually happened. And those variances are giving us information that we need to react in terms of doing some actions. We need to make changes. We need to improve the way we are working. We need to find ways to get back on track. So we bring that information and we make sure that those changes are approved. This is an important step. We're not just changing and trying to constantly change because things are happening. There has to be a process of approval. And that approval makes sure that the resources are available, that the change and the updates are relevant to the project and they will contribute to the success. Once those changes are approved, then we update our plans and then we go to the next phase. Here's the project life cycle. Here's where we have our adapt phase. The monitoring phase will provide us with the inputs, and the adapt phase will also be providing inputs to the plan phase. The effort versus time, the monitoring and adapting phase are also going hand by hand, and they will take about almost the same time that our implementation phase will take. Notice that the effort is much lower because the amount of changes usually is not that significant. If that will be the case, then you will have a different problem. But there's going to be an amount of effort that you need to monitor and to adapt your plans to the new conditions that we see in the project. The project cycles are also that an understanding that we only have just one cycle. And depending on how you design your project, you may have different cycles within the life cycle of your entire project. So as you start making progress, you start implementing, you check your project, you find opportunities to adapt, you change your plans again, you do the work, check again, and adapt. Those cycles can happen depending on different timelines in the life cycle of the entire project. Depending on the type of project, you might have 2, 3, or more cycles. Here's a basic flowchart of the adapting phase. We see the change control, we see the analysis of the request, the process where there is a decision. If the approvals of the changes then are approved, then we move into the next set of updating our core plans. Then we update the support plans, we update the monitoring and evaluation plans. We finally then are in the step where we can integrate all those plans, and the last step, we communicate those changes. So this is going to be the steps in the adapting phase. We're going to be presenting each one of those during the next set of presentations.